You're listening to the Traffic and Conversion Show. I'm your host, Michelle Fernandez, and OMG, I just got off of finished recording the podcast with the one and only Mandy Emerson, which is a good friend of mine. And she is an Instagram coach and strategist, helping female entrepreneurs grow their business using Instagram. And she's also the founder of the Fierce Social Society membership, which is the #1 membership for female entrepreneurs. And we just had a crazy long but so good discussion about how to approach social media for your unique business, because let's just face it, all social media strategy is not should not be treated equal, right? So wait till you hear this episode. You are going to love it. So let's dive in. Hey there, welcome back to the show. Joining me today is the one, the only, Mandy Emerson.
The crowd goes wild.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
We're the
Welcome, Mandy. Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's going to be, we've already started off on a great foot. So I know this recording is going to be awesome.
We've been talking about doing this. We even had it scheduled and then we had to reschedule it and everything. So I'm glad we finally did this. I mean, this goes to just show you that like we're friends. So even like real people or people that you don't know in business, like sometimes like things just happen and it's okay if it has to get rescheduled. Doesn't mean that they don't want to come on your show or they don't like you or anything like that. It's just like, hey, no big deal. Well, we did it and we just scheduled it and all was good.
Here we are. I just had to get my teeth filled. Like, oh no, I had a root canal.
That's what it was.
And I thought I was going to be fine. And you messaged me that day and you're like, are you going to be okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I had drugs, guys. This is why I was okay when she asked me. And then the next day I was like, Michelle, I'm going down. I can't move my mouth without being in pain.
I was like, this girl's crazy. Either she's super tough or she's just delusional. And then I figured I was going to get that cog.
Delusional. I was delusional. I have a great dentist. So shout out to my dentist, good advertising for him, but like he did such a great job. And I was like, wow, this isn't so bad. I could do this if I needed to get a root canal. This is fine. No, no. There is after pain that comes later when the drugs wear off.
Actually, anyway. We should have done it when the drugs were on. And then you were probably fucking like this.
Oh my gosh. More than, I don't know if you've ever, like if people have experienced that, but your cheeks and your mouth just feel so swollen. And you're like, gosh, I feel so massive on my lower part. So no, I was not talking cute at all. So there would have been a massive lisp happening.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to get this going. Okay, so I obviously know how amazingly you are, amazingly talented, like your mind, like you have other talents too. And it's just like amazing. Okay. So can you tell everybody about yourself and your journey, what you do, who you serve, all the good things?
Yes, about my amazing self. Let's go. Okay. So I was born in 1980. Just kidding. So no, I came from a performing arts background. I've been on the stage for as long as I can remember, probably for the majority of my life. So at some point that'll switch over to being like digital marketing. But right now, the majority of my life I've spent on stage being a performer. So when I traded the physical theater stage for a digital one, it was a pretty like seamless process. I've always loved social media. I've always seen the potential in it well before Reels, well before TikTok, well before all of that. I saw the potential in social media. I didn't know how quite to hone in on it yet. And it wasn't until we had a panorama that I lost pandemic. I call it a panorama because it just sounds a little bit more fun to say, even though not making jokes about a pandemic, but I like to call it a panorama. We had a panini, a Panhellenic, whatever. And I lost the job that I had. And I saw it as an opportunity to go like full into my social media adventure. I didn't know what it looked like. I was very heavy into beauty blogging. I loved content creation. I had a YouTube channel. And again, this was all before Reels started to play a big contributing factor. But I just knew that I wanted to dive into it. So I did, and very quickly realized that people were coming to me for tips and for strategy. So I saw that as an opportunity to lean into that as a way to start making an income for myself. I already had an Etsy shop. I've always been very entrepreneurial,
Mhm.
you know? But finding the thing that really like set my soul on fire was social media strategy. Reels then came into play. I hopped on those really quick. I was able to then create a course on it. I have since launched a annual membership that teaches business owners to use social media strategically so they grow their business in a sustainable and um, income driving way. That's not the best way to put it, but I'm not here to teach virality. I'm not here to teach the latest viral hacks or whatever. I'm here to teach strategy and what's going to help grow your business in an efficient and sustainable way. So that's kind of what brings us here today is I'm still doing the real stuff. I'm still doing the membership stuff. I'm still doing the singing and performing mainly at church now, but it's still happening. And every once in a while you'll get me in a performing mode for trends, for reels and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
I love that. And it is true because, well, the first couple of times I met you, or I met you once, obviously, and then I knew who you were after, but I didn't realize you had this performing arts background. And then it's just, you can tell by your whole like vibe of it. It's like you have this presence about you, right? And it's not intimidating for those who don't have that same performing thing. It's almost like so attractive that, like, oh, if I could just have a little bit of that, I can show up a little bit better. So it's almost like you don't even have to talk. It's just like your vibe gets people to do, to be at that next level. Because
Yeah,
let's just face it, anything on social media, it's especially when we're doing video or taking pictures of ourselves, whatever, everybody has their own little whatever. They don't want to do it, they're insecure from it.
right.
And it's really something that we do have to do if we're in this digital space or online space because people want to do business with people, right? So you
Yes.
do have to share some of that.
Yes. I think we're in a really great and important time in social media too, and being business owners and being content creators, because we kind of wear a couple different hats when
Hmm.
we're in business and entrepreneurs. We're in such an exciting and unique place where people are tired of the polished and perfect and they just want to see real people. So talking about like the performing aspect, really it's just like letting my truest self shine. If that's really goofy, if I flub I'm never afraid to flub my words. I've been telling people all day I'm not making the best sentences, but I'm not trying to explain it in the best way that I literally called the pandemic a panorama. Like just leaning
Right.
into who you are. And I know that might be the most cliche and, overstated thing, but that's what people want. They don't want the polished and perfect and pretty. They just want human, honest, raw interaction. And that's being praised more than anything. And this is just such an optimal time to do it.
Hmm. Hmm. And I love this because this is what a lot of people, I think, is a huge misconception is they think they need to be like those
Yes.
influencers, those famous people, as I call
Yeah.
them, rather than to be by themselves. So,
Mhm.
so to Mandy's point, it's like we need to be ourselves, and that is our unique position, our
Yeah.
unique selling position. If
Right.
you've all ever heard that term, that is you, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so today we are supposed to be talking about how to approach social media for your unique business, right? Because there's no one social strategy that's equal for all businesses. And when
Mhm.
you had mentioned that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so, so true. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about this today because it's just like all the things we hear, and everybody's trying to follow like a certain checklist or a certain guide to go through.
Yeah.
So can we just start out with like how you decided like or how you identified that this was something that you realized like, okay, no, as a strategist, I
Yeah.
cannot recommend you do XYZ, right?
Right. So we look to the gurus and the experts and the coaches on social media, and we're looking to them for like a secret code. We're looking to them for that strategy that we're like, "Oh, that's going to be the thing." But really what we have to do as business owners is look at what's my objective with social media and where am I driving traffic from? And some are not actually going to drive traffic from social media. I have a client who is a nonprofit nonprofit charity. Actually, Michelle and I are both friends with her in our mastermind. And her social media is actually not going to be a driving force for donors and for sponsors. It certainly can be, but where she's going to find that traffic to benefit her charity is actually through networking and face-to-face interactions and storytelling. That's going to be her biggest contributor, versus her social media is just kind of there as a portfolio and kind of as a representation of what the charity is about, what they do behind the scenes. It's probably never gonna go viral, right? I don't know that I hear anybody saying this except for myself, because I'm not afraid to say it. You may never go viral. Your social media, your reel, your TikTok, whatever, may actually never go viral, but you could very well have a viral business. And I'm pretty sure that's all what we want. We're after like the 6-7 figure paychecks, not the 6-7 millions of viewers or likes or whatever. That's nice, but we're all after conversion. So it's looking at what your objective is. And most people are going to say, well, I want sales and traffic for my social media. Of course, we all do. But is that the best use of your time? Or are you finding that you're better for email marketing, or maybe like Facebook, or it could be networking, just like I was talking about with Faith, or it could very well be social media, but making that decision first. And then we can build on from there. And then how we approach it, what your ideal customer client is going to want to see. That's what we're going to then show on social media, instead of, oh, I got to do the trends and the pointing and the dancing, when really people just want to see, what's your business all about? Who are you benefiting? What's the transformation? Or what can I, as the consumer, get from you? Because oftentimes we make content for ourselves. It's not about us. It's not about what we want out of it. We want the sales and traffic, but in order to get the sales and traffic, we got to serve the people that is gonna then contribute to the sales and the traffic.
So good. And like, you're right, even to the point. So to your customer, her name is Faith, and it's like, if she were to be following the trends, post how-to videos, post tutorials, like it, I could see where it, depending on your industry, you're like lost. Well, wait, what do I do? Right?
Right.
How am I doing
Totally.
this the most like effectively to get that in? So I love to your point of that, because even some of the brick and mortar other places too, like it's kind of like it's just so different.
Mhm.
So could we talk about the difference, like if you are a like brick and mortar kind of service based business, something where, I don't know, can you give me some examples, like maybe like a spa versus like
Yeah.
a dentist, right?
Yeah.
Something that maybe you don't come in that often.
Right. Yes. Oh, that's good. So for the brick and mortars that offer a service along with a product that can be sold along with that, really for those types of businesses, it's going to be very transformation driven. So I'm actually working with my dentist. I'm actually working with him on his social or just social strategy, and I'm working as more of an influencer, as a partner, and we're going along in my
Mm.
journey of aligners and then teeth whitening. And I'm not just talking about, oh, look how crooked my teeth were and now the straightening. I'm actually digging deeper into, I'm the face of my business. I do a lot of face-to-face interaction. And one of the things that drives my eyeball, like it catches my attention the most, is my dang bottom teeth were just so crooked. They're super straight now. Thank you so much to my dentist. But it's the transformation. So businesses like that offer transformation, you really want to capitalize on that. So for the spa example, they're coming in with more fine lines and wrinkles, or really dry skin, or maybe it's a different kind of treatment, but they're coming in to change something, to make something better. You have to capitalize on the before and after. Yes, the picture side by side, but there's an emotional transformation that happens too. Speaking to that,
Mm.
I now feel so much more confident in my videos and my pictures because my bottom teeth are straight. Nobody else cares about that. Most people are like, Mandy, I didn't even notice. I didn't do it for anybody else but myself.
Correct.
Right? Speaking to that transformation, showing that through actual before and afters, speaking to the emotional transformation that somebody's had, having testimonial reviews, their progress and how they worked through it, how the the business helped them through it. Those are all things that we want to emulate through our social media and through video and through those visual pieces, as well as the written word as well.
I love that. And you know what? I didn't really, when you started saying it, I'm like, duh, because I'm like, that totally makes sense. But
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at it the same.
Right.
Right. But it is, because I'm sitting here running through my head, okay, what other businesses there are?
Yeah.
Right. So it's even like a dance studio, right?
Mhm.
Like, even if it's like, even whether it be that the dancer becomes like a novice to like a professional on stage,
Yeah.
or if it's not like a not so serious, more of a fun place, well, now it's like the child not having fun to having fun, right? Or
Yes.
making a group of friends, right?
Yes.
Obviously with like yoga, Pilates, anything like that, that's like, whether it be like now you're all zen and you're relaxed, or your body's taking a different shape, whatever it is.
Right.
So very, very interesting. And even with the online space, we're still talking about transformation, right?
Yes. Right.
And to your point of the emotion, it's like, that's, I think, where a lot of people miss the mark. And that's why you're
Yeah.
so brilliant at the strategy, is because everybody's focused on. I was meeting with a client today, and she said to me, you know what? I feel that I just keep repeating myself. Like, I can't find other words to describe what's going on. And then I noticed that she focused way a lot. Well, let me repeat that. I'm now not getting my words out. Heavy. She was focusing heavily on the problem, right?
Mhm.
Like this and that and this and that. Almost like, I don't want to say like argumentative, because that's not what it's like, but it's
Like
almost like,
agitating.
yes, which that's like old school for me, way versus the what's possible, that
Yes.
future pacing, that what if, imagine, right?
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, so if I were to say, like, tell me, answer this, what if, or imagine this, and she
Yeah.
kept going right back to the words. And then so I'm like,
Mhm.
well, can I give you my inputs, like, as
Yeah.
being, if I was a potential customer of yours, this is kind of how I would see it. And I think she was like, oh, like, never thought about that, because she's
Yeah.
fighting for to kind of overcome the objections, but then you're constantly talking about the same thing. So
Mhm.
how do you get to the point where it's like you can distinguish the two?
Yeah. Well, and I think both are needed, but I agree with you. It can't so heavily be on the problem and the agitation without there being like a smidgen of results and transformation, because then people are just going to be agitated. They're just going to be like,
Yes.
I do have that problem. How do I fix it? And you're not offering a solution. So they're just different marketing tactics, being problem educational based and results based or transformational based. But I completely agree with you. There has to be a portion of it that's what's possible. And my favorite example is when I joined the mastermind, which is how I met the lovely Michelle, is I being in the room. I didn't even know I had a problem. So it kind of did both in one, sitting in the room with all of these very established and accomplished, successful entrepreneurial women. I didn't even know it was possible until I heard them start talking about, like, well, I had, a 6, 7 figure year and I'd like to double it next year. And I'm like, excuse me, you're making how much money? Wait, where have I been this whole time? But seeing what's possible, I saw the results. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I could fix this. I didn't even know that I had a problem. And I hate to say problem, but I never knew how much I was limiting myself with what I didn't know. So that kind of comes the educational problem piece, like showing what you might be missing out on. It's kind of like a self-diagnosis. You look at something like, have you ever experienced XYZ? And you're like, yes, I have. That's educating the problem that you might have, but then being like, look at what your possibilities could be and look at what the results could be. And then also like leading by example of, I'm the result that you want. Let me show you how I got it. So
Mhm.
has to be a balance of all of it, because people will be attracted differently. They're not necessarily just attracted to problem educational content. They want to see the transformation. Like, they know they have a problem. I want to see the results. I want to see what you can do for me. I want to see the result. I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel already.
Mhm.
I'm tired of being in the problem, versus other people need help diagnosing that they even have a problem. So it has to be a balance of a couple of things.
I love that. And you're absolutely right. And about focusing on the problem, or almost like And I'm saying this out of my own experience, especially at the beginning before I really kind of knew. And it's so funny because my husband now, like, because I drag him to every event and to learn all this stuff. And then he'll be like, I know what they're doing, Michelle. They're trying to blah, blah, blah. Like like he's so proud. And then he'll
He's
be
like,
like,
I know what they're doing.
right. He was like,
On to you.
right. He's like, and then he'll look at me. He's like, right. That's what they're doing. I'm like, yes, you
I
nailed
love
it.
that.
That's exactly what they're doing. He was like, but he's like, I know. But now I totally forgot what I was saying. Because when we're talking about that, you're right. People respond to do two different things. And what
Mhm.
happens is when you hear all this negative stuff, like for me, I started to beat myself up about it
Yeah.
because it's like, yes, I have a problem. I have a problem. I have a problem. And when you never get to the solution, or when you do, it's like, oh, that solution seems so far. And
Yeah.
I'm never like, if you were sitting in the room and I have no idea how much money you make, but if you had made $10,000 a month, let's say, and everybody else is making 100, you might have sat there and gone, 10,000 to 100,000.
Yeah.
Forget it. That's like so far.
Mhm.
Or 200,000 a month. It's almost
Mhm.
unattainable.
Right.
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 So it's like when you're talking about social strategy, which I want you to just, I'm almost going to like let you do the talking, but
Yeah.
it's like you got to know where your customers are, or and
Mhm.
test it to figure out where they're
Right.
at, that makes that connection, that it's like, yes, you're struggling with this, but I'm going to help you get to that, and it's not going to take you as long, or it's not as far away as you think.
Totally.
I wish I could find my notes, and this one guy said, um I'm going to totally misquote this, but it was so good. He was like, entrepreneurs don't have a vision problem. They have a depth perception problem, that
Ooh,
they think things are farther away than they actually are. And when he said that, I was like,
what?
you know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel seen.
Right. I was like, is he in my head right now? But I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true, because you know what you want, but then you're like, but basically you're saying, I don't believe in myself. I don't think
Mhm.
that's possible for her, but not for
Right.
me.
Right.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And sitting in the that room when Stacy brought me on to do training, I mean, I love telling this story because it's kind of like a look how goofy you looked, look how silly you looked, Mandy. But she said, I'd love for you to come train. And in return, please stay for the 2 days of masterminding that we or this retreat. I'm like, what the heck is this retreat? We're going to
Hmm.
do sit around and talk about our feelings and our business. Like, and I'm not against that. I'm not above that. But my mind was a little bit like negative toward it, or just opposing it a little bit.
Hmm.
I wholeheartedly own up to this of you were so wrong, because I would not be where I am in my business today if I hadn't been exposed to that. But it really is your perception, because those women in that room, and I say this again, they were making 6 to 7 figures a year in their businesses, and I hadn't even made my first $5,000 month. But then within 8 weeks of being in the program, I had a $25,000 launch. That is massive to me. And now I'm like, okay, what's next? Now what's
Right.
next? Right. Now I'm like, now I got the bug, but it can be really, it can be disheartening, but I would challenge anybody that does get disheartened by seeing somebody else and seeing what they're accomplishing, being like, oh my gosh, that's so far away from me. You have to realize we have all started at square one.
Yes.
Everybody has. I know that might be cliche to hear, but we all started at square one. Everybody did. I didn't know a lick of what I was doing in May 2020 when I started diving in. I wasn't even going to do coaching. That was not even on my radar. But now I have a full blown membership, right? So it's so true. The depth perception. You don't know what's actually how close it is to you. But I would challenge anybody to look at these, super successful people, or the ones they put up on a pedestal. If she's done it, that means it's possible for anybody to do
Yes.
it. Just because they've done it doesn't mean that that spot has now been taken. That's the opposite of what it means. It's they've done it, so it's possible, so I can too. Is it going to take more discipline? Is it going to take some skill building? Is it going to take some maybe time sacrifice to go into more trainings and however you learn things? But so yeah, maybe it means that, but it doesn't mean that it's that spot's been taken because somebody else has it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope everybody heard that, because that is what's happening.
Or
And
rewind, like stop and rewind and go
and
listen
no, for
back again.
real, because it's true. And then, so here's the thing. So one of my friends, which I love her, and we're like back and forth every day and talking about this. And sometimes I actually get stressed out. I think so does she, because we're just talking about ideas that we get exposed to, right? Like, oh, about this, because we both
Such
have,
an entrepreneur.
right, and we have similar businesses, so we have other clients that we help. So it's like I feel the need like to share, because then I'm like,
Yeah.
how could this work maybe for one of your clients? But
Right.
anyway, so something she got into on her own thing, and she's like, should I do a webinar? Should I do a challenge? It was
Mm,
almost like indecisive, right?
mhm,
Because so and so says this is what's working, and so and
mm,
so says these are dead, or so. And I'm like, okay, let's just look at the evidence, like
yeah.
let's gather it. So and so is doing live webinars, so and so is doing automated webinars, so and so is doing it, so and so, right? And I'm like, so if we want
Mhm.
to see evidence, it all works. It's just, what do you
Right.
want to work, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, you're right. It's just like kind of picking, deciding what feels good for you, what feels good for your clients, all that kind of good stuff. And
Yeah.
really just getting in your head, like, I'm going to do this, right?
Right. Right. And I can already tell somebody's going to listen to this and be like, but how do I learn what's best for my business? It's all about testing and exposing yourself to new experiences and new people and new courses and trainings. There's she's my upline in my direct sales business, actually, because I have a couple different businesses. I like my hands in different cookie jars because they all kind of like mesh together really well and just make me a really well-rounded entrepreneur. But she and I were talking about how we like to spend money, and we don't necessarily find value in handbags or designer items or materialistic things. And not that that's a bad thing, but she's like, did you see the latest course? I just enrolled in this next cohort or this group coaching. I'm like, yes, I did it. We're like investing in courses, things that will have a long-term effect for us, or that the value in it is so much further out than a beautiful handbag.
Right.
And listen, I have a really lovely handbag. I'm gonna take her everywhere. She's like my tried and true, my little Kate Spade. She's not even like the highest designer or whatever, but like that's my little one piece and it makes me happy. But what's going to make my business even more happy is, these resources that I have. So if you're not putting yourself in new circumstances or learning new things, you're never going to know what's best for your business. So I think the biggest learning, biggest thing that I've learned in my first couple of years of business, I'm only in my second year right now. I'm about to close in on my second, going into my third. It's been a lot of learning. What is best for my business? Should I do quarterly launches? Should I only launch twice a year? Should I have workshops every single month? It's going to be a lot of trial and error. And I think my biggest frustration, and I voiced this during one of our group calls, is I'm so tired of learning. I just want to know the blueprint. And Stacy, our business coach, came back. She's like, yeah, you have to do this. This is the grunt. This is the hard work. This is the grunt work. But once you figure it out, and I mean, she's literally saying the things that I say to my clients with social media, you have to test things in order to know what works for your business and what doesn't. So, yes, there's been a lot of learning, but now going forward, I'm going to have the answers to what's best for my business that might not benefit somebody else. So, to your point of, this person is doing live webinars, this one's doing automated webinars, this one hates webinars altogether and never does them and only does workshops, or this person, right, and this person says that they're dead or whatever. It's for their specific business, and you have to be willing to try almost anything. You have to be
Right.
willing to test and put stuff out there, and some stuff is going to fall flat, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It does not mean failure is not bad. It's just figuring out what works for your business and what doesn't. It's not fun. I'm not going to tell you that it's all, sunshine and roses, because it's not. But the same thing applies to your social media. Is reels the best option for you? Is talking reels better? Are trending reels better? Are behind the scenes or storytelling or interviews, or right? You have to be willing to try a few things, and that takes time. That's not going to be figured out in a week, let alone two. It might even take from 30 to 90 days of like hard every single day I'm trying new stuff work in order to get your answers. And that's not fun. I'm gonna pop that bubble right now. None of that is fun. You can enjoy the process of content creation, but don't get so attached to your own content that you're like, taking it personal that it didn't get, a certain amount of views or a certain amount of likes. It's not personal. Nothing about social media has to be, a personal attack on you as an individual. It's what's best for my business. My mentor said this at one point. She's like, it's not that deep, you guys. It's not that big of a deal. Like, please do not get that attached. It's not that deep. And now that's like one of my favorite things to say. It's like, it's not that deep.
Right? Oh my gosh. So I've been there where you're like, oh my God, this reel or this piece of content is gonna kill it. I said all the thing, whatever. And it's like, hello. Hello. But you know what? I used to watch this realtor show back in the day. I can't remember what it was. And I remember the girl, she would move a lot. She was a realtor and she would move a lot. And then her boyfriend or whoever it was like, I really love this house. I don't want to go. And she's like, you can't get attached to the house because it's just the house. And I remember
Yes.
at that time we were contemplating on moving and I was like, oh my God, I can't leave. This is the house the kids grew up in and blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, well, it's just the house. It's the people that make it the home. Right. So
Yes.
that's when really I started to, I'm still living here, by the way. I did not fall for it. But in my mind, whenever I start to feel like that, especially with business, I say to myself, okay, it's okay to move on because in my mind, her business was real estate, right? And the houses. So that's why she was so like detached from it because this is her, she was looking at more of making money. Like, yeah, we bought this, but we're going to make whatever, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we're moving, right? So, that's a good way. So let's talk about strategy when we're going in. You talked about testing. So I have like so many questions from it. So my first question was, let's just go with the testing. When you were saying, okay, the reels, the this and that. So how long do we test for? Do we say, okay, this quarter, we're going to do this plan and like, how do we do that?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I feel like people are not really going to like the answer because it takes time. I don't like anything less than 30 days, which actually isn't that long, but to somebody who's like 4 weeks of testing and nothing, yes. And it's testing something very specifically and consistently. So I would say a minimum of 30 days, just so you have that data. You can't look at a week of data. It's not going to be reliable. 30 days, however, is really my recommendation. You also need to be considerate of the time of year. I do not recommend you start testing things during this specific time of year, going into holidays, because brand ad spend is going to be so massive. And we're in a very particular time in our economy where we are getting into a recession, if not already in it, have been in it. Inflation is also, I mean, we're always in inflation, but recession specifically, the buyer's experience and their spending is different during this time of year outside of a recession, but we're also in a recession. So that's just a little bit different. So I do not recommend testing a brand new strategy during this time of Q4 of November, December, and even a little bit in January. Anytime other than that, like free reign. So just be cognizant of what's happening in the world, right? Are we even, I don't even know what year it is. When did we have an election? 2020, right? 2020. Do not test during an election year. Please don't do that. That's also not the whole year, but during that time where then politics and all of that, you just have to think about what time of the year is really inundated with certain content. Christmas is obviously holiday, and I literally just went to Target. It's October 13th when we're recording this. I just bought like $200 worth of Christmas stuff. It's October 13th. Like, what is happening? People are buying earlier and earlier. So that would be my first recommendation, but testing at least 30 days of it. So you have that information, that data to go off of, and then like really pick stuff apart. And then this is also where I would start investing or looking for that feedback. Get a second pair of eyes on your content and have that feedback with somebody else. We are always so close to our own content. Kind of goes back to that emotional attachment. Like, we're proud of what we create, and you should be, but you can't be so attached to it that you're biased, that you're like, I know that that's good. When somebody looks at, they're like, no, Mandy, that's trash. It's dark. It's the low quality. I can't even see the words that you're talking about. The text that you use, like, we're so close to it because we're so proud of what we created, and that's fine. But be cognizant of if it's making you biased. So having that second opinion, and profile audits are something easy to be able to, most of the time pretty affordable, to be like, can you check this out? Let's look at a profile audit. That's also something that I would recommend as far as testing and then getting feedback on it if you can't be unbiased yourself.
I love that. Okay, so when we're talking about not all social strategy is the same for every
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit,
Yeah.
please.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we talked about the transformation side. You have to think about, what does your business provide? What end result does your business serve? Is that very transformational heavy? Or like we were talking about with the spa or the dentist, they are very transformational heavy, right? I mean, you can't really make teeth fillings sexy. Like we can't,
Mhm.
that's a hard one to do. But there are things that you can lean into of the teeth whitening, or maybe even the cosmetics, or even like I will sing my dentist praises over and over because my root canal was not horrible. Like obviously there's residual pain that comes after, and that's normal. I had a root canal when I was in college. So it was my early 20s, or I was maybe 19, 20 or something. It was god awful. It was so bad. And I think a lot of people can be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But now I can talk about the experience of like dentistry has come a long way. It's very different. And the customer service there, like you can speak to the testimonials of people's experiences. So if you have a business that's very heavily transformational, show that process of what that looks like from the beginning and the middle and to the end. Or if you're similar to my client Faith, who has more of a social media strategy that's behind the scenes and storytelling, when it comes to her charity side of things, where a lot of it's not necessarily heavily income driving, it's more donors and sponsors. What we want to show is the impact we're making. So it actually is a little bit transformational, but we want to show how we're getting our donors and how much that means to us when they partake. Or actually very recently with Hurricane Ian coming through and devastating their warehouse where they had all of their stuff, speaking to, we had this magical place where people and families could come when they're in need. So it's storytelling. It's very heavily reliant on storytelling and behind the scenes, and really peeling back the curtain of, this is what it actually looks like and this is what we provide. But most businesses are in the business of transformations. If you're very heavily in it, like you can actually have a before and after photo, lean into that. If it's transformational in that it's changing lives and it's more emotional driven, showing the process of how that works is going to be for you. I would love to take the example of the dance studio. It also depends on what your overall business mission is. Now, if you're a dance studio that's very heavy in competition, like you are super proud of the dancers that come out of that studio, they end up going to Juilliard, they end up going to the top dance academies, or theaters in the country, in the world. You're going to want to show that, like, we are the best of the best. We do technique. We have these teachers. Like, you're going to show why you're different and why people should come to you if they want this result in their own life. So again, it's transformational, but how you show that is, we are the top competitive, even if you're not, you can totally say it. We are the top competitive dance company in the state of Wisconsin. And these are the women that have come out of it. They've gone to do XYZ. This is how we provide that, showing a sneak peek of what they can expect. Or if you're a dance company that, like, we just want our kids to have fun. We want to give them a place to let loose, make friends, or dive into, a different creative side. Show that. You're going to want to show what you want your clients to then experience for themselves. And if it's super fun, cutesy costumes, or if it's fun dance music, or if it's a specific age group, you're going to want to show that with high quality content, meaning it's well lit, it's a clear video, clear sound, it's short and sweet. It's not dragging on too much. But going back to the objective of your own business, what are you in the business of doing? And if you can answer that with clarity, then you think, how do I show that? Peel back the curtain, and that's what you're going to show on social media.
I love this. And one thing that I find is that with these performing arts people, is they feel, I'm assuming they feel this way, because when I look at their videos, they are produced. right? Versus just like, let's step into the classroom and see what's going on, right?
Yeah,
Like more of that behind the scenes. So
right.
would you say like for those two different dance studios, the one that is like Juilliard kids, would those be more maybe produced because that's what their audience wants to see? Like this is like the real deal?
Yeah.
Or do you think like, and then the other studio could just be like, face to camera and stuff like that?
That's such a good point. I would actually say for the very competitive going to Juilliard, accolade driven dance studio, I would make that a little bit more polished, but I wouldn't make it so much so that it looks like you can't sit with us.
I
Unless that's
get
what you're
you.
unless that's
Unless
the
that's what you
messaging
want.
that you're
Right.
about. That production also speaks to a monetary value. Like we are a
Mm,
competitive dance studio and the people that we bring in are top notch. Therefore, you are going to pay top dollar, but you're going to get every cent out of that dollar given back to you in education and technique and exposure and competitions and whatnot. So that almost speaks in a indirect way of like, we mean business here. This is what we're
mhm.
about. Not to say that the more fun dance studio, it isn't that way. It could be a little bit more playful. It could still be produced, but in a more playful way. So
Right.
I can already envision the two different like
Right.
professionally
It's like,
produced videos. I can see that this one is a little bit more, it is a little bit more polished in a, the colors are a little bit more either I say like whites and neutrals and beiges and blacks. Like I can see that because it's when we see somebody's website, I remember somebody saying like, if you want to be like top notch and top dollar, you need to have more whites because it is
hmm.
white is equating to luxury and so is black. Like black and white is equated to luxury versus the playful and more fun dance studio can have more vibrant colors and be, pinks and yellows and like just more vibrant colors and more upbeat music. That is more playful versus this is going to be like a little bit more intense and it gets you fired up and you're like, I want to do, yes, I send me off to my first competition. I'm ready to go. Put me
Right.
in, coach, type of thing. So you can invoke that kind of reaction if that's what you're going for with each of them produced. I don't think it's necessary to do like you could easily take your iPhone and do it. I do that with most of my clients. I just take my iPhone. This is the 13, I think, and the lens is perfect on it. It's all about how it's produced and the colors and the branding and the music that you put to it that's more important than it being from like a massive, thousands of dollars video camera versus
Mhm.
something on your iPhone.
Yeah. And you're right, because I think a lot of these businesses, especially like these types of businesses, it's kind of like, okay, even, well, who am I joking? Like even us, like sometimes
Yeah,
we're like, we don't know how to do
right.
this, right? So
Right.
then we feel we need to hire somebody to do it, and you really don't, like not
No,
even close.
right.
Would you say that's like across, well, we just identified two different ways, but would
Right.
you say that's across the board with what you advise your clients like strategy wise?
As far as like hiring like for
To
the
not,
high production stuff,
right. To
yeah, no, I'm with you. You don't need even brands are catching on to that and they're using more user generated content with their influencers. I mean, the parallel between that is like super direct. You can make a high quality video and it not be professionally produced, right?
It
It
still
doesn't
looks
need to
good.
be this
Hmm.
like super high tier production. It certainly can be. And that again goes back to like that monetary value. You're probably going to be more attracted if you're in that space, money space of I'm willing to pay top dollar. You're going to want to see someone that also invests that into the production side versus if you're not necessarily as adamant about that, you're okay that their content maybe looks I don't want to say lesser than, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's
Hmm.
user generated, but still looks just as good. It's just not going to look like a professional video camera took it.
Right. I love that. I love that. And even you had mentioned, I want to circle back because I did have this written down and you just made it again, said it again,
Yeah,
is influencer, because you said
yeah,
I am basically representing for my dentist, which
yeah,
also we're gonna promote you to your hairstylist too, right? We had
Oh,
that conversation.
totally.
Yeah.
My
Okay.
hairstylist, because yes. Yeah.
Okay. We're making money here. So
Yeah, we
when
are.
it comes to that, so it's kind of like, as the business, how do we either have somebody do this and share their journey, and make it for them to be open? Like, what are some ways that you could talk about doing that? It doesn't necessarily have to be like super influencer, but that's like the
Yeah.
vibe that we're going for.
So how do we as the business owner invite people to be like ambassadors, influencers for us?
Yes.
It would definitely be it needs to be in the best interest of the influencer, but also for us too. So the reason that my dentist and I are such a great fit is because he has something that I want for myself, but then me as the influencer, it's important that the content I create is also representative of what they're trying to accomplish.
Hmm.
So I think a mistake that a lot of brands will make, and it's funny that I'm speaking on this because I have a brand manager that does all this for me. So I'm like, either you're better at this than me. But it is important that the brand and the influencer are good for each other. Like they're a good fit, because there have been plenty of brands that have expected, a laundry list of things from me that don't value my time, because it takes a while to create the content, to take the content. So I would arrive about 20 minutes before my appointment to my dentist just so I can grab behind the scenes content of the experience of walking into the office and checking
Hmm.
in and people smiling at me. And I didn't want it to be super staged. I just wanted someone to follow me in for it to look really authentic. But then also behind the scenes of the dentist talking to me, showing my crazy looking teeth at the time. Like they're so beautiful now. I can't stop looking at my teeth. I love them. It makes me so happy. But then also the content I'm creating, it needs to then resonate with the people they're trying to get in front of. So if they're actually trying to talk to people in their 40s, 50s, 60s for, they're not dentures. What's the veneers? Is that
Hmm.
it?
Yes.
Like if they're
Hmm.
trying to talk to them, like I'm not going to be a good fit for them.
Right.
So that's what I mean by it being a good fit for both of them. And when a brand is looking for an influencer or a partner, you want to make sure their audience too is a good fit. So
Hmm.
the majority of my Wisconsin people are actually on TikTok. So they first approached me about, we'd like to do this on Instagram. And I said, actually, if you want the biggest bang for your buck and your impact, we need to go over on TikTok, because that's where the Wisconsin people are, right? You're a local business. You're going to want to have somebody that has local influence. And there was another furniture business here that we were in conversation, and my audience was not here, and they primarily sell to locals, and we didn't end up working together because it just wasn't a good fit.
Mm.
So is it local? Is it important that you're local to each other, or does that not matter? The content you're producing, look at what they're producing already. Because the other important thing to me as the influencer is that I get to be myself. I get to create
Mm.
content that I feel good about, that I don't have to become somebody else in order to fit your brand. It has to be a mutual understanding there. What you're going to get from me is what I'm already creating. So that's almost like a teaser of what you're going to
Mhm.
get from me. So there has to be investigation. I just deleted, I don't know how many emails today of like, hi, the Mandy Emerson. I'm like, you can't just
Right.
call me by Mandy. Or
Mandy.
they take that little title that's in our Instagram bios. I think mine says social media strategist. And it'll say, hi, social media strategist. I'm like, nope, I'm out. Like, you can't
Right.
take the time to call me by name and then say what you like about my content, why you think my product would be good for me and my audience. Da, 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 da. I won't even give you a second glance to even
Mhm.
entertain the idea if you're not taking a personal investment in me as the influencer, as the potential ambassador for your brand. I feel like I just
Mhm.
like went down into a
No,
rabbit
but
hole.
I love this. I actually love this because this is something that you can do whether you pay or not, or you figure out what clients, or even just like each other. Like, we have
Yeah.
this relationship, so you can even get with someone that like leverage, when they talk about leveraging relationships, right?
Yeah.
That is a way that you can do it, where you
Mhm.
can kind of use each other and not really have to pay, but you're complementary to each other and helping each other out. So I
Right.
think that with what you're saying, it just fits into all of it, right?
Right. Totally.
So I have one more question, and then you can kind of leave us with something. You
Yeah,
talked about followers. Like, you have a ton of followers, right? And I got hung up on this. You originally
we
started
all
talking
did.
about the vanity and
We all did.
going
Yeah.
viral and blah blah blah. So I got in this thing where I was like, oh my gosh, this other agency, like, I know they're killing it. Well, I think I know they're killing it. So then I'm like, I'm going to go follow them on social media. So I went and I'm like, oh, they have less followers than I do. Oh, this one has less followers. Okay, this one we're like the same. So I'm like, that was when I think I officially ditched, I don't care how many followers I have, right?
Yes. Good. I'm glad you did, because it
Yes.
does not always translate.
So how does that, what is your, I mean, obviously you just said what your take is on it, but how do
Yeah.
you get like how do I say this? Advise your clients when it
Yeah.
comes to the followers when they're trying to do these things.
I mean, it really just comes back to mindset a little bit. I know that's a really easy answer to say. It's our attachment to those vanity metrics, to the likes, to the views. And don't get me wrong, those all feel really good. I get excited when a reel performs well. It also tells me that's doing really well. I need to make more of that. And you know what, even in the beginning, when I first started this, my husband didn't completely understand what I was doing, because I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. But he was like, I don't know that I get it. And people that are not in social media will think this way. So I couldn't even blame him. But I was like, wow, this got 100 likes. And he was like, well, I mean, don't be getting too puffed up about it. I'm like, no, what that means is 100 likes to this. And, I got 10 likes over here. That means something within this content hit home. Now I can hone in on that. And the moment that I said that, he's like, oh, that makes all the sense. Right. So we have been, well before I switched that mindset to how can I replicate this? It was, oh, well, they like me so much more in this post. Like we've all done that. But until we switch our lenses to the marketer and the business owner from the consumer, if you're the consumer all the time, you're just going to think they like me better. They must like that dress that I'm wearing in that post versus they don't like what I look like in that one.
Right.
We're the consumer there, versus in the marketing side of it, it was, I used a different hashtag, or I talked about something, or I was educating, and that, like, you're picking apart the value of it, not necessarily the surface of it. That takes like intentional work to switch that mindset there. I go back to this story. I don't know who this influencer is. But I heard the story. I mean, it was a big story in influencer land, but she had, I kid you not, like hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, she was a mega influencer. I think she was almost up in the millions, and she had a brand deal. I want to say it was like with Nike or Adidas or like somebody big. Okay. And they had a collaboration, and they made t-shirt or sweatshirt or something. And she sold 17 shirts out of her millions of followers. Right? So you could have all of these numbers and they all look really great, and then have an absolute flop of, like, it cannot just be the follower count. It cannot just be the viewership count or the like count. If your back end of your business, which Michelle and I are going to talk about in my podcast recording coming up next, if you don't have the back end, the other business side of things, social media is just one part of it.
Yeah.
That could be the traffic driving, that could be the nurturing, that could be the connection driven portion of your business, or maybe it's something else. But you cannot look at followers and immediately equate it to dollar signs. It's just not true. And the opposite is true too, of what you said of another agency. Like, wow, they don't have like any follow, or they don't have any followers, but I know they have like heaps of clients. And something that I feel like not enough people in my space, in my industry of being a social media strategist or even a coach, would say, you may never go viral on social media. You may never have a viral reel or TikTok or whatever it is you do, but you could have a viral business. And that's what I think we should be more focused in on, versus, oh, that reel got thousands of views and now I have 20,000 followers on. Like, cool, but how's your bank account? How's your client list? That's what I would want people to focus on more.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because
Yes.
that's true. I mean, when you shared that thing about however many millions and 17 shirts, I was like,
Does
like,
that
in my
not
mind,
blow your mind?
I
I'd
know
be
in my
so
mind I was doing,
embarrassed.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't know what
Conversion rate.
happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I hope that she's like still going. I hope something like that wouldn't have deterred her, but that would be a big wake up call that
Yeah.
numbers on social media only go so far. Like there's a whole behind the scenes that you don't necessarily know about.
Right. And it really all comes down to that strategy and
Yes.
figuring it all out.
Yeah.
Is there any last things you want to leave us with?
I feel like that viral, real over viral business is like my signature thing to leave people with. So that was perfect. Like go for a viral business, not a viral reel. If both of them happen at the same time, great. If neither one of them are happening, let's redirect our focus on the viral business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, let's dive into Michelle's hot minute. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a few rapid fire questions. So just answer.
Okay.
All
This
right.
is like favorite color, or is this like I have to think about it?
No, well, hopefully it's gonna be rapid. You won't.
Rapid. That's the whole
Okay.
point. Okay. I'm ready. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. So this
That's
might
okay.
be-
And sometimes it ends up not being rapid, but we're good. We're good. Okay. Would you rather sing or dance?
Oh, sing.
What's your guilty pleasure?
The Kardashians.
What's your favorite way to distress?
Oh, Netflix.
What do you wish someone taught you a long time ago?
Marketing and business.
What do you do for fun?
Netflix.
What's your favorite travel destination? Because I know you've traveled like the world.
I love mountain views or city, like new cities that I've never even been to. But like I'm talking Europe. I'm not talking in the US. I'm
Right.
talking like I want to go to Europe where their cities look totally different than ours, but mountains.
Which is your favorite? Where you been?
Mountains. Oh, place like
Yes.
location place. Honestly, Asia is probably the coolest just because it's so different. The people, the culture, the food. Yeah, Japan is like I would go
Really?
back there in a heartbeat. A
You
heartbeat.
see,
Yeah.
and I'm afraid to go because I think I'm gonna well, if I want to lose weight, I think I'm gonna be doing really good because I'm afraid with the food. I'm like, what am I
Oh,
gonna eat?
it's
It's
fish.
good.
Oh, fish and rice and sushi and meat. Like the way that they cook meat, it's so cute. You like sit in the floor, like your feet go down into the floor because you're
Mhm.
like, it looks like you're sitting on the floor, but there's like a little thing that your feet go into. It's like a moat for your
Mhm.
feet. And then you're actually like cooking on a hot rock. It's the most like, it's
Cool.
unreal. It's such a great
Okay. I
experience.
think you're
But then
talking me into
Alaska.
going. Oh,
Alaska is
Alaska.
also my favorite. That's where I met my husband, is in Alaska on a cruise ship.
Really?
I love Alaska. It has everything from the mountains to a little bit of the water. I can't stand beaches. I know that sounds really pretentious, but I can't. It's sand, palm tree, water. We're done.
Hello. You just
Yeah.
insulted me. No,
I'm
just
so
kidding.
sorry. I know. I'm so sorry. People are going to be like, this girl is so entitled.
No, but that's so funny because we live in Miami and yet we take Caribbean like vacations. And everybody says to us, but you live like basically
I
where people
know.
vacation. Why would you vacation here? We're like, I don't know. We just like it. Like
It's so funny.
getting cold is not fun for us. But anyway,
I don't blame
okay.
you.
What was like some of your favorite or one of your favorite holiday traditions growing up?
Oh man. I mean, Christmas this time of year that we're going into is my jam. I come alive in the fall. Christmas, I love the smells, I love the traditions, I love the meaning behind it because I'm, big Jesus girl over here. But I think my favorite thing when I was a kid was we got to spend Christmas Day and Eve at different families' houses, grandparents and all that. But Christmas morning was just for our family of four, my mom, my dad, my brother, and myself. And that's probably my favorite. But Christmas Eve, after we come home from everything, we'd always watch It's a Wonderful Life. So we watch that every single year. And even in my 30s now, I'm making my husband watch it. And he's like, are we really gonna? Yes, we are gonna watch this every single year. It's my dad's favorite movie, and my mom loves it too. So that's probably my favorite is that movie. It's a long movie, so get ready because you just want to go to bed and like open presents the next day. That's probably my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. That was so much fun.
That was so great. I love those rapid fire questions.
Yeah,
Those are
even
fun.
like
I'm
I told
actually
you,
so
some of
excited.
them don't end up being rapid fire. And I even said the other day, I was like, I think I'm gonna get rid of it. And someone's like, you can. Like
Oh, they're
that's the favorite part
fun.
because really, like this for me, speaking of experience, I don't want to speak for everyone, but sometimes
Yep.
it gets stressful, right?
Yeah,
Or you're in it
totally.
alone, or like we take it so serious. And I put these questions in because I feel like it just gets to know each other as a person,
Right.
and that we're all human, no matter what level of success we're at or what level of knowledge one has over the other. It's just like
Yeah,
we're all here and we're all just like real people living real lives with
totally.
very, very similar. It was funny because when we were on the speaker panel at the
Yeah.
conference last week, and did you hear some of Shelley's answers were similar to mine?
Yeah.
And like I've known Shelley now for what, over a year, maybe a little bit more, and she's so quiet all the time. Like I know I
Yeah.
talk way more than she does, but I was like, Shelley, like I didn't realize how much alike
Similar
we
you
are,
are.
right?
Yeah.
And she's like, we should explore that. Like she's very like, so
She
cute,
is. She's so calming. She has such a
right?
calm. We should explore that.
But this is the problem, because we get into the thing and we're all business, business, business. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, we have like, we can like hang out and like do
Right.
fun stuff together.
Totally. We
That's
could
what
be friends.
I know. What? Right? That's why I even got your personal phone number and I was like, let's just be texting and
That's
forget this
right.
whole Voxer thing,
Voice
right?
noting. Yep.
We
Totally.
got it because you get that connection. But thank you so much. This was so much fun. I appreciate you
Yes.
sharing all your goodness. Where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Yes. Okay. Obviously, Instagram, the Mandy Emerson. And then also the Fear Social Society is my business platform, but my membership as well. So you'll see a lot more social media tips, strategy from there. And then on the Mandy Emerson, you're gonna get more of my entrepreneurialness and Moses, my dog. Like everybody loves to see Moses. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are there just for Moses, but I ain't mad about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. All right. Well, there you have it. How to approach social media for your unique business. Definitely go check out Mandy. I will put everything in the show notes so you can go find her. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, let's grow your business together.